The Pelosi attack is ramping up fears of political violence here in the United States in an already divisive climate right here in the nation's capital, Washington. There's a clear partisan split on whether Republican condemnation of Speaker Pelosi spurred her husband's attacker to act. CNN's Melanie Zanona is joining us from Capitol Hill right now. Melanie, a lot of Republicans have publicly condemned the violence, but some are actually making jokes about it.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Wolf. I mean, instead of this moment of unity, what we have seen is Republicans actually mocking Paul Pelosi and the attack. In fact, Donald Trump Jr. tweeted out some really crude memes making fun of Paul Pelosi and the incident that happened. And then you have Kari Lake, who is the Republican candidate for Arizona governor, who had this to say at a campaign event earlier today.
It is not impossible to protect our kids at school. They act like it is. Nancy Pelosi, well, she's got protection when she's in D.C. Apparently her house doesn't have a lot of protection. But
now, I would say most Republicans have condemned the attack, but a lot of them have been reluctant to acknowledge that some of the GOP's own rhetoric or their efforts to demonize Nancy Pelosi or their party's embrace of fringe conspiracy theories have contributed to the dangerous, toxic political environment, or they have tried to blame both sides equally. And then Ronna McDaniel, the chair of the RNC, told Fox News that it's actually unfair to even suggest that political rhetoric contributed to the attack in any way. Take a listen.
I think that's unfair. I think this is a deranged individual. You can't say people saying, let's fire Pelosi or let's take back the House is saying go do violence. It's just unfair.
Meanwhile, GOP leader Kevin McCarthy was initially publicly silent about the attack, but he did come out on Saturday. He condemned the attack and all forms of political violence, but he did try to portray the attack as a broader crime issue. However, there is at least one Republican who disagrees with him, and that is Fred Upton. He is one of 10 House Republicans who voted to impeach Trump. He himself had been the subject of threats. He told me that he does believe his party bears some responsibility, that some of these Pelosi attack ads have gone too far, and that the Donald Trump tweets were disgusting. But, Wolf, I can tell you, it seems that as of right now, he is the minority voice in his party.
Melanie Zanona, thanks very much. Melanie reporting from Capitol Hill. Let's bring in our legal, law enforcement, and political experts right now. Shan Wu, you're our legal expert. As we learn more about the seriousness of Paul Pelosi's injuries and the circumstances of the attack, do you expect additional charges may be added?
Well, the charges they've already hit him with are quite serious and would result in significant jail time likely. On top of that, I'm expecting there'll be state charges filed too. There is the possibility of additional charges depending on what else they find, and at the sentencing stage, when they get there, they could actually seek an enhancement for a domestic terrorism charge here. But these charges are already very significant. They seem right on target, and DOJ has seemed a little reluctant to use that enhancement, at least when it comes to the January 6th rioters. They preferred to go with the more straight-ahead assault, trespass, destruction of property, and they seem to be doing that here. But again, these are very serious federal charges.
John Miller, what do you make of just how forthcoming the suspect was in his interview with police? He was read his Miranda rights, but he spoke extensively to the police. What stands out to you based on this affidavit that has now been released?
So many things, Wolf. It's a very rich affidavit in terms of the amount of information that they put in about their evidence. But let's go back to our suspect for a minute to get to the core of your question. Here's a guy who was involved in a high-risk activity. He's going to do a home invasion by himself with a hammer at the home of arguably the second most powerful person in the United States government in the line of succession for the presidency. So there is an extraordinary risk that any rational thinker would calculate that he's going to get caught. And yet, when his victim calls the police and he knows it was 911 and he knows the police are coming, he does not flee. He compares himself in a bizarre statement to being like our forefathers who fought the British. Surrender was not an option. So you have a guy who took the risk of getting caught, then knew he was going to get caught, and then got caught, and then gave his statements to police. So he's living out loud during this episode, and I think he wants to be known. He wants his voice to be heard. And, you know, the day before this event, he was a nobody from nowhere who was isolated and relatively estranged from his friends and family.